talk about this Sharia compliant index, we know it will be the first that the index created to track the performance of Sharia compliant equities on the floor of the exchange. Now, how many Sharia compliant equities are on the stock exchange today? I mean, that's a question that a lot of analysts are asking.
Well, we've been following this for a number of years, and what we found is typically there's about 27% of the market is Sharia compliant in total. However, this particular index, the NSE Lotus Islamic Index, is comprised of 15 stocks.
Well, Hajara, can you give us a highlight of some of these stocks that we're going to see listed on the index? And of course, how many? You said 15 stocks. Give us a picture of which stocks we're going to see.
Okay, it's covering 7 sectors. And you have stocks like Nestle Foods, Lafarge Wabco, Dangote Cement, GlaxoSmithKline Beecham, Cadbury PLC, amongst others.
Now, going forward, we'd like to know exactly how this index will work. I mean, is it only equities that will be on this index? I mean, I know I did hear that it mention that the index will be open to other financial instruments such as ETFs.
Actually, it's an equities index purely. It's an adjusted market capitalization index. However, we're expecting that on the back of this index, other products such as index funds and ETFs, exchange traded funds, will be created on the back of this NSE Lotus Islamic Index.
Well, Ajay, please give us a better picture of exactly the process you went through, especially when it comes to screening these companies. You did say all the companies that would appear on the index have been thoroughly screened. So give us a picture of exactly the screening process that you went through.
And that's a great question. We had 3 processes. The first screen is what we call the qualitative screen, and these are globally accepted forms for Islamic screening of equities. And the first screen removes the sectors that are prohibited under the Sharia, so things like alcohol, tobacco, conventional banks and insurance companies, defense, entertainment, any pork-related products, and so adult entertainment, that is, pork-related products, and so on. So those sectors are excluded automatically. The second level is what we call the quantitative screens, and that's made up of 4 financial ratios that looks at the leverage, the cash component, any interest income, and other levels that exist in those companies that have passed the first screen. And anything that's outside the conventional norms or is material under generally accepted ratios is also excluded from the index. So you may have a stock in the food and beverages, for example, that may be over leveraged. I have a debt to market cap ratio over 33%, and that company would be automatically excluded also. And then the third level, of course, was looking at index construction, and so looking at the high market cap stocks, the stocks that have high volume and would be liquid and generally available. So those were the 3 levels that we looked at in order to construct the index. Of course, we also capped the concentration of any particular stock or sector. So the sector cap is 40% of the index, and the individual stock cap is 30% of the index. And lastly, any company or person who owns several companies on the exchange, we do not allow any coverage or concentration more than 30% of any related companies on the exchange.
What are you expecting in terms of investment flows? Now, of course, in terms of the kinds of investors we're going to see this index pulling in. I mean, some analysts have mentioned that this could possibly be attractive to, for example, Middle Eastern investors.
Yes, certainly we expect a lot of international interest, particularly from the Middle East and the Gulf, also from Asia and the rest of Africa. Generally, any investors who are interested in Sharia compliant or ethical investments. But what we've discovered over the years is that this is a very good index in terms of its low correlation with the market generally, and it's a very strong defensive index. So during the last 3 years, where we've seen a troubled market and a turbulent market, the index has actually outperformed the Nigerian All-Share Index. So it's a great diversification tool for any fund manager to have in his portfolio.
Well, Adeola, I'm very curious. I mean, what is the appetite for such indices here in Nigeria? I do know that other institutions have launched similar indices. Is there really any interest? And what is your take on how these others have performed and how this new index is going to perform now?
I think this index is unique in the sense that it's opening up an entirely new space in the investment universe in Nigeria. You have individual investors who have always been unsure about what is an ethical investment or not, and perhaps have stayed away from the capital markets, and this allows them an entree into the capital market because they're sure of what has passed the screens. It also allows fund managers and institutions to create products or funds to invest in the market. We have a huge population in Nigeria. We feel the demand is strong. The Islamic finance space within Nigeria has been growing over the last few years. We now have non-interest banks. It's possible that even the pension industry may begin to look at this area. And of course, there's the international component. So we see a lot of interest coming to the market. We think it's going to broaden the market substantially, and we expect to see volumes.
Well, thank you so much for giving us your take on exactly how this index will work. That was Hajara Adeola. She's the CEO of Lotus Capital, talking to us about the new Sharia compliance index that was listed on the stock exchange this morning.